My name is Clara. I'm a 32-year-old part-time working mom. I married into a family that owns a renowned business corporation. Despite the surprising ease with how both families accepted our union, others were quick to label us a mismatch. But now, 5 years into our marriage, everyone watches over us with warmth. I feel truly cherished and it makes me grateful every day. This not only applies to my relationship with my husband, but with my in-laws as well. Especially my mother-in-law. She treats me just like her own daughter. Clara, darling, are you feeling all right these days? You look like you've lost some weight. I'm worried about you. Here, take this. Why don't you go out with that co-worker friend who visited the other day? What my mother-in-law handed me was a coupon for a popular steakhouse. I can't use these lunch vouchers because I usually eat at our company's cafeteria. It'd be a waste to let it go unused, so you enjoy. Even though I could go out with my father-in-law on my day off, my mother-in-law told me not to worry, so I wouldn't feel pressured. Nevertheless, the amount inscribed in the discount voucher was incredibly luxurious, something I usually wouldn't even think about. Moreover, I was gently informed that there was a dress code suggesting I dress up a bit. I initially hesitated but agreed to enjoy the generosity of my mother-in-law when she made a certain request. Wow! My friend and I, upon entering the restaurant, instinctively gasped in awe. The long counter made of a genuine marble and the highly polished iron plates were simply spectacular. This is amazing. Overwhelmed by the ambience of the restaurant, a man who appeared to be the chef warmly showed us to our seats across the counter. I've been told by your mother-in-law that I can freely exercise my culinary skills to your heart's content. May I? Encouraged by the chef's experienced demeanor, my friend and I silently nodded in agreement, feeling a bit relieved. After all, we had no idea what or how to order in such a high-end restaurant. Just as the madam said, I'm delighted to see you enjoy your meal so heartily. Please come again. One by one, the delicacies melted in our mouths, and my friend and I, satiated to the brim, breathed contented sighs. The chef watched us leap with a friendly smile. However, that was delicious, wasn't it? The waiter guided us to the exit, scornfully remarked, You don't even know what you're eating. What? Shocked, we thought we misheard, but then we heard the waiter mutter, Lunch with the discount voucher. You must have gotten it for cheap at some ticket shop or something. The waiter sneered at us, making us feel uneasy. Seriously, you ate a lot. It's disgusting. Seriously, spare me. Are you even a woman? Gross. His voice was low enough to be heard only by us, but it was unmistakably filled with malice. My friend turned red with embarrassment, bowing her head down. Whether or how we got the discount voucher or how much we ate is none of your business. I don't want to hear anything from you. Let's go. Frustrated and upset, my voice shook, but I made sure to say what needed to be said and then urged my friend to leave the restaurant. As it turns out, my friend and I hold national qualifications as certified garden management engineers, recognized by the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism. We work in gardening, maintaining parks and roads, and working with greening initiatives. This might sound like a cute job, but it's quite physically demanding when you're out in the field. Our body is our capital. Unlike my slim husband, I can easily carry items weighing more than 20 kilos. Okay, I lied. Well, to confess, my husband can't bridal carry me, but I can lift him. Although we're not fat, we have firm muscles for women. We love our work, but we do have moments when we wish we could be bridal carried. It's a bit of a dilemma, we often joke. Because of our physical demands, we can eat more than twice the amount of food an average woman can. Of course, I love meat. I think the chef made our hearts flutter by saying, The madam told me you could enjoy the meal to your heart's content, and I'm glad you enjoyed your meal so much because my mother-in-law had told him about us. Still, the deliciousness of the food got the better of us, and we ate more than usual. However, being called disgusting was too much. My heart, which had been so excited just moments ago, suddenly felt deflated. I'm sorry, it's because I invited you. My friend, whose cheeks were still flushed with embarrassment, reassured me that it wasn't my fault, but I couldn't shake off my feelings. Moreover, I felt pathetic when I opened my bag to give a tissue to my friend who had teary eyes, and I discovered I seem to have left my handkerchief in the restaurant. It was a beloved handkerchief that my mother-in-law had given me as a gift. As I usually dressed in jeans and sneakers for work, I was nervous wearing an unfamiliar dress and pumps and had been holding the handkerchief all the time to hide my sweaty palms. I think I dropped it when I confronted the waiter. I'll go back and get it. The thought of encountering that waiter again was distasteful, but I didn't want to leave my precious handkerchief behind. However, the restaurant had closed for lunch by the time we returned, so my friend, who had come along with me, and I researched for the back door. Ah, there! We spotted the chef and the rude waiter near the back door. Even so, to have a customer get angry like that. Wasn't there some sort of rudeness? I said it many times. This is customer service. Depending on your attitude, even the owner's reputation, who is your father, could be affected. You need to be aware of that. Yeah. In response to the admonishing chef, the waiter maintained a sullen face, nonchalantly brushing off his advice. It seems that the waiter from before was the son of the owner of this restaurant. Excuse me for interrupting, but was there a handkerchief left behind today? Feeling guilty about eavesdropping even unintentionally, I quietly addressed them. The chef, as before, responded to me with a smile. Please apologize properly, he told the waiter. The chef, who had brought the handkerchief from inside, handed it to the waiter and encouraged him to apologize. However, while the chef was inside, the waiter, who had been grumbling things like, "Don't look at me, you scum," not only disobeyed the chef's instruction, but also crumpled up the handed handkerchief and threw it forcefully at my feet. Then, with loud footsteps, he walked back into the restaurant, leaving the flustered chef to apologize profusely to us, to the point where we felt embarrassed. A while later, I had another encounter with this waiter. "You're really bottom tier, aren't you? Did you know that? It's obvious in this world that being skinny is ideal. Poor people like you have no demand except for outdoor jobs, and your bones get big, don't they?" I bite my tongue hard to suppress my retort towards the waiter's scornful smile. In reality, the favor I was asked for my mother-in-law in exchange for the discount coupon was a proposal for indoor decorations that would suit the restaurant's atmosphere. "Clara, you also have qualifications in garden decor, right? This restaurant is our business partner. I'd like you to work on it while you're dining there. Wouldn't that be great?" It was a kind gesture from my mother-in-law and a delightful work proposal, but today was a discussion while observing actual plans for the arrangement. But I never expected him to be a part of it. Furthermore, he seemed to have tagged along for the inspection, and in the absence of the chef, who usually plays the role of supervisor, he was more intrusive than ever. "I've prepared materials over there, please take a look." He was pressuring me with a low voice, checking around to make sure no one was watching. "Oh, not saying anything today? Well, you would be in trouble if you can't get a job from us, right?" "Please, over there." "What? I'm saying this loud enough for you to hear because you're ignoring me." Despite his malicious words and delight in being unpleasant, I remained silent. As much as I hated to admit it, I didn't want to ruin a job opportunity introduced by my kind-hearted mother-in-law because of him. He left the scene with a laugh, shrugging his shoulders at my reaction. "Hey Clara, I'm sorry for asking this only a month later, but is it okay to have the next birthday party at the steakhouse we went to last time?" My mother-in-law asked me this with a slightly troubled look when my father-in-law's birthday was nearing. It was a family tradition that my mother-in-law wanted everyone to attend my father-in-law's birthday party once a year. All three brothers, their families, and I regularly meet as we all get along well, and everyone looks forward to celebrating not just my father-in-law's birthday, but also my mother-in-law's birthday every year. I told him to tell me his favorite restaurant, he just went ahead and booked it himself. Such a troublesome man. "If I had known about this, I would have given you a coupon for a different restaurant," my mother-in-law sighed. Normally, I would readily agree, but this time I couldn't muster a smile because of the waiter. I was feeling apologetic. My mother-in-law suddenly became serious. "Something happened, didn't it?" Even when I tried to avoid her gaze, she quickly held my cheeks and brought my face close to hers. I confessed everything, and after thinking for a while, my mother-in-law's eyes sparkled. And so, on the day of my father-in-law's birthday, I visited the restaurant again, dressed in the same outfit as last time. "Welcome, we're pleased to have you here." Lost amidst my gathered in-laws, I entered the restaurant, keeping my gaze lowered. The chef, as formal as ever, greeted me with a nod and a warm welcome, which slightly eased the tension I felt. However, unlike the counter we sat at last time, this time we were in a spacious private room. As each of us settled at the banquet table, I noticed the figure of the waiter bringing drinks. As he walked past me, his dismissive attitude and his habitual clicking tongue were just as they had been. In fact, the moment the chef left the room, it seemed as if he had discarded all his responsibilities as a waiter. With a dismissive throw of his words, he literally abandoned his service. "You want a drink? Pour it yourselves." He showed no embarrassment in pointing to the drinks with such a flippant tone. "Frankly, this is not a place for people like you understand? This is a social spot for the wealthy. The presence of poor people like you lowers its prestige." He said this as if it were self-evident and then heaved a dramatic sigh. "And that is your best outfit? You look so poor. Haven't I told you before? A bottom-rung, poor, unintelligent glutton who can't even appreciate good food, especially a woman, should never show her face here again. Can't you even remember such a simple thing? Really, spare me. Just go home." With a shooing motion, he waved us off as if chasing away an animal. Furthermore, when we remained silent and unmoving, he seemed to grow irritated and let out another disgusted tisk. At that moment, my mother-in-law, who had been silent until now, asked in a calm voice, "Is that all you have to say?" "What? What is it, old woman? Where did you buy those clothes? Aren't you embarrassed to go out in that?" In response to the waiter's retort, my mother-in-law's demeanor changed dramatically. I felt a sudden chill, but he didn't seem to notice. You don't want to upset Mom. She's far more terrifying than Dad. My husband once told me this and I felt I was getting a glimpse of the truth behind his words. Whether he sensed her intensity or not, the waiter looked a bit puzzled. So you're the son of the owner of this place, right? Well, then it's perfect that your father is here. Huh? With that cue, the chef who had disappeared from sight comes carrying a large tablet. As per your instructions, I've connected you to the owner. He's seen everything. What? My dad? The waiter's outlandish cry made me internally retort, even in such a time, not father, but dad, huh? You're out of character. However, the waiter himself was far from calm. What? Ugh! He stammered, completely ignoring my mother-in-law. Owner, as you can see, I appreciate our past dealings, but it won't continue as before. I'm going to sell all the shares I hold in this place worth about $10 million. Despite addressing the owner, she turned her eyes sharply towards the waiter, delivering her words with the clarity of a biting frost. It's a good lesson for you to see what can happen because of your attitude, isn't it? The waiter, finally grasping the critical situation, stammered again like a frog frozen under a snake's gaze. You are... He finally remembered about respect. My mother-in-law cut him short. Oh, I'm just a poor person who doesn't need to give you her name. The waiter dropped to his knees as if his legs gave out. It was then that the owner's voice resonated from the tablet. Madam, I really don't know how to apologize for this. I feel terrible having to do this over a screen. My son has done something truly outrageous. I'm sincerely, deeply sorry. I don't care about me. Cutting off the owner's desperate pleas, my mother-in-law showed a clear sign of anger for the first time. Clara is my pride and joy. When my son told me he wanted to marry her, I went to see her work from afar. Her work was meticulous, polite, and diligent. She's an honest woman who doesn't change her attitude depending on who she's dealing with. She doesn't deserve to be looked down upon by someone like you. No matter what clothes she wears, she's always bright, a bit clumsy, and has an irresistibly cute smile. Claire's just that way. No matter what you think, I want to fill her belly with delicious food, and watching her enjoy her meals is my happiness. Well, I won't forgive you for hurting my dear daughter again and again. My mother-in-law's determined statement overlapped with the image of my own mother in my mind. Despite the differing appearances and demeanors, my mother-in-law, who was doing her best to protect her daughter-in-law, felt just like my own mother. When I noticed my husband was gently embracing my shoulder, and I realized I was crying from the warmth of his touch and the handkerchief he handed me. Sorry, I don't want to dirty your handkerchief with my snot. Can you get me a tissue? While my husband was trying to hold back his laughter on one side, I needed many tissues for my tears. During all this, my mother-in-law continued to press the waiter firmly and unyieldingly. What's important to me is the entire family here. None of us should be belittled by you. Our outfits that you snickered at are indeed no-name brands from chain stores, but for my dear family who are willing to joyfully wear clothes that they know will be looked down upon and are not even to their own tastes, I feel proud. You don't need to judge people by their fashion at first glance. As long as you cherish what's important, everything else doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Facing my mother-in-law's wrath head-on, the waiter began to tremble and apologized. You're absolutely right, madam. He was unbelievably rude to your family even though he didn't know they were related to you. I'll disinherit my son this instant. Dad! Don't call me with that embarrassing name, you failure. I made a mistake in how I raised you. Your younger brother will take over the company. Don't ever come back. Dad! The owner's son, Desone, clung to the tablet but was let out by the concerned chef. I'm sorry for involving you in this mess. What are you talking about? What happened was just clearing the way to enjoy a delicious meal. Today we're going home saying how tasty and fun it was. Well, if I had to say something to everyone who came along with us, it would be more than just I'm sorry, right? Huh? Puzzled by her bright insistence, I blurted out, Mother-in-law, you're so cool. The unexpected compliment slipped out of my mouth, causing my husband to burst out laughing, and the rest of my in-laws to clap and laugh heartily. After that, the owner's son seemed to be struggling to live in a small apartment after being kicked out of his large family home. The owner also found himself scrambling to stabilize his rising stocks after learning that my determined mother-in-law had really switched her stocks to another company, and her friends followed suit, causing the previously soaring stock price to fluctuate. I hope these days as family will continue forever and ever. That way we can always laugh together. With that thought, I felt like crying from laughter again and hurriedly started looking for a tissue.
One day, while on a business trip abroad, I received a message from my husband Tom saying, "Let's get married." What's this? It seemed like he accidentally sent me a message that was meant for his mistress. Ever since he transferred to a new department, Tom's suspicious behavior had been increasing. I had my suspicions when he suddenly started saying things like, this moisturizer is supposed to be really good, despite never having shown interest in beauty products before. Tom, who never did anything related to childcare or housework, seemed to have been indulging in an affair. How stupid can this man get? Then, the message was immediately retracted. Tom must have panicked and deleted it after realizing he sent it to the wrong person. I would have loved to see his face at that moment. Of course, I have a screenshot, so it doesn't matter that Tom deleted the message. I immediately called Tom. "I saw your message just now." "No, that message was..." You could easily tell he was panicking over the phone. "But maybe you meant to say let's divorce instead." After that, Tom would come to know the truth. "My name is Anna Omar, I'm 34 years old. Tom and I have been married for 8 years and have a second-grade daughter named Lynn. I met Tom through a friend's introduction. When I first saw a photo of Tom's face shown by my friend, I thought he was totally my type and asked my friend to introduce us. He had thick eyebrows, a high nose, and tanned skin. I've always liked people like that. Thanks to my friend's encouragement, we got the chance to have dinner together, hit it off, and started dating soon after. Our relationship was going well, and about a year into our dating, I found out I was pregnant. With the baby on the way, should we get married? Tom asked, and I replied, of course. I'd love to. And so, Tom and I got married. It was far from a romantic proposal, but I was still thrilled to be proposed to by Tom. I had been working as a web designer until I got pregnant, but the morning sickness was so severe that I decided I couldn't impose on my colleagues any longer and chose to resign. When I told my boss I was resigning, he said, "It's really sad to lose someone as talented as you, but your health comes first. If you ever want to come back after having the baby, just let me know." I felt truly fortunate to have such supportive people around me, though it also made me feel a bit sad, but I decided to prepare for the birth. And safely, I gave birth to a girl. We named her Lynn. For a while, I focused on being a stay-at-home mom, dedicating myself to household chores and childcare, but honestly, just living on Tom's salary was pretty tight. So, when Lynn started kindergarten, I began working part-time at a supermarket. However, I hadn't worked at all since giving birth to Lynn, so I quickly became physically and mentally exhausted. And with Lynn still being so young, I often got calls from the kindergarten saying, "Lynn has a fever, please come pick her up," which made me feel terribly guilty towards my coworkers. To make matters worse, Tom's neglect of household chores and childcare was tough to handle. Wow, what's with this meat and potatoes? The carrots are too hard. I can't eat this. Sorry, but I'm gonna throw it out. Though he seemed sorry, Tom casually threw away the meal I had prepared amidst my busy schedule. Sure, maybe the carrots were a bit harder than usual. But saying it's inedible is a bit much. With all the housework, job, and childcare, I just wish he'd be a bit more forgiving. There were also things like, the bathroom floor is a bit dirty. Can you clean it? Tomorrow's fine, he'd say with a smile. If he noticed, he could just clean it himself. It was the same with childcare. When I asked Tom, should Lynn go to a private kindergarten or the public one nearby, he said, I'm not sure, Anna, you decide. Everything about childcare was left up to me. Tom had no idea he was being a traditional husband. But he probably thought he was being kind. Indeed, Tom's way of speaking was gentle, and he wasn't the type to force things with strength. Both of us being rather calm by nature, we never really had big arguments while dating. So, until we got married, I never noticed Tom's hidden traditional husband tendencies. After we got married and started living together, Tom's true nature gradually began to show. The first time was when I cooked a meal for Tom. Wow, that was delicious. Anna, you can really cook. Thanks for the meal. Tom said this with a look of satisfaction, patting his belly, then, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, he left his dishes on the table and sprawled out on the couch. Huh? He can't even carry his dishes to the sink? I remember being a bit surprised. Hey, could you at least carry your dishes? When I blurted this out, Tom looked surprisingly shocked. From his reaction, I realized he hadn't done anything like this at his parents' house. When I asked him to carry the dishes, he quickly got up, though surprised, and said, "Oh, I'll carry them." Since then, he would do as asked whenever reminded, but I always had to remind him every time. When I returned to work, I warned him, "I'm going back to work, so you need to help more with the childcare and housework than before," but it seemed like Tom had already forgotten. Home sweet home. As soon as he thought he was back, he'd throw his jacket on the couch and walk around, taking off his socks and shirt, leaving a trail of his discarded items. It was like following a trail of breadcrumbs, but with my husband's discarded clothes. Even our kindergarten-going daughter, Lynn, is better at tidying up than Tom. It's a common sight to see her telling him, "Daddy, you shouldn't leave things here." "Sorry, Lynn." When our daughter points it out, Tom starts to clean up, though it's hard to tell if he's really learning from it. Every time Tom comes home, I can't help but feel like another big kid has returned, and honestly, it's exhausting. Still, by pointing things out time and again, both from our daughter and me, we've somehow managed to get along as a family of 3. I'm disappointed by Tom's lack of cooperation, but I've come to think that maybe this is what marriage is like. Time flew, and before I knew it, Lynn was in 2nd grade, and both Tom and I were 34. With no more kindergarten pickups and a bit more peace in childcare, I started a side job in addition to my part-time work. I wanted to get back into web design, my previous job, so I searched online and managed to make a bit of extra income, a few $100s a month. I never doubted that we'd continue to work hard and live our ordinary lives. Then, one day, Tom told me, "I'm being transferred in April." Tom works in accounting at the headquarters of a plumbing manufacturer. His company has always had a policy of nationwide transfers, including department and branch changes, so it wasn't unusual for such orders to be issued. I knew a day like this could come at any time. But it still surprised me when it actually happened. "Wait, a transfer means we have to move." "No. The thing is, I'm still going to be working at the headquarters, but I'm being transferred to the business development department. It's a new department starting in April." "Really? That's a relief. You had me worried there for a second." Yeah, I was worried too. When the manager told me about the personnel announcement, I thought I was finally getting transferred and even prepared myself for a possible solo assignment, Tom said with a laugh. Anyway, I thought we'd continue to live together as before, but about 6 months after Tom's department change, his returns home began to get significantly later. "I'm gonna have to work late again today, so I'll be home late," Tom would say before leaving for work. "It's been pretty busy lately, hasn't it?" "Well, yeah. Since it's a brand new department, we're still figuring things out, and it takes time." "I see. Just don't push yourself too hard, okay?" "Thanks, I won't." Off I go. It's natural for things to take time when starting something new. I naively thought it would settle down after a while. However, the overtime never seemed to end. On top of that, Tom's business trips increased, and there were often weekends he didn't come home at all. As these days continued, "I can't play with Daddy lately, I wish he'd come home earlier, why isn't Daddy at home more?" Lynn began to look visibly sad about her father's late returns. It's tough on our young daughter. Thinking about how lonely Lynn seems every day made me feel like something had to change, so I asked Tom, "Hey, Lynn looks lonely every day. Can't you spend a little more time at home?" "Lynn's already in elementary school, right? She'll be fine on her own. She'll make friends soon and won't even care about me anymore." Sure, as Lynn grows up, she'll have more stimuli, make friends, maybe even boyfriends, and might not come home as much. But that's exactly why it's important to cherish the time now when our child wants to be with us. I was irritated by my husband's irresponsible comment. What kind of response is that? Can't you, as a father, think about your daughter a bit more and act accordingly? She wants to spend time with you now. You haven't even taken her out to play recently. Think about her a little, will you? Seeing me turn red with anger, Tom let out a deep sigh and looked annoyed. What? I'm just working hard here. And I get complaints for that. That's not the point. So what? I'm tired. Don't start yelling. You, just working part-time, wouldn't understand my situation, right? Instead of complaining, why don't you perfect your cooking and meals first? What? Are you saying I'm not doing well enough? No, not really. Anyway, I'm busy. I gotta go. Tom then slammed the door with deliberate force and left the house. Just part-time, huh? So that's what he thinks of me. Being dismissed as just part-time might be the end of it. But it's not like those working part-time aren't busy, right? I work 9 to 4, 5 days a week, and when I come home, I do my best with childcare and household chores. I don't think I'm slacking off, but it seems to Tom like I'm just lazing around. Since Tom's transfer, our marriage has only gotten worse. There's also something a bit concerning about his behavior lately. It's the sudden interest in grooming. Before, Tom had no interest in beauty care, using whatever cheap men's face wash was available and never bothered with makeup. But all of a sudden, he started saying, "This cleanser really gets the dirt off your skin." I was surprised he even knew the word cleanser. Then, "This toner is popular in Korea," he said, starting to use toner after his baths, among other strange new habits. Hey, what's gotten into you lately? You never cared about beauty stuff before. Oh. Some young guy at work told me about it. Now that I'm hitting my 30s, I gotta start taking care of my skin. Huh? Really? At first, I genuinely believed what my husband said, but one day, an incident occurred that completely shattered my trust in him. That day, as usual, Tom said he was working late and didn't come home until after midnight. As soon as he got back, he quickly said, "I'm beat, I'm gonna take a shower first," and hurried off to the bathroom. Feeling sorry for him being so busy with work, I heard the notification sound of WhatsApp message on Tom's smartphone, which he had left on the table. Usually, he takes his phone with him even to the bathroom, but maybe he forgot it today because he was in a hurry. I couldn't help but glance at the smartphone screen. Because it wasn't locked, I could read the full message displayed on the screen. Today was fun. Thank you for paying for both the meal and the hotel. When can we meet again? What's this? The sender's name was Natalie, clearly a message from a woman. And from the content, it was obvious that Tom had been with Natalie just before coming home. Was the rush to the bathroom to wash away any signs of having met someone? I couldn't believe it. Were all those overtime and business trips lies? Ignoring our daughter who wanted to play with her dad, lying about being busy with work to meet up with a mistress? The word divorce popped into my head. But, as Tom said, I'm just part-time. Even though I started a side job, it's not yet fully on track, making just a few $100s a month. With Lynn's school education to think about, I'm not confident I can support her on my own. Should I confront Tom, or pretend I didn't notice, considering our daughter's happiness first? While Tom was alone in the bath, I decided to keep silent after much thought. If I pretend not to notice, things can go on as before, and our daughter can spend time with her dad. Eventually, Tom came out of the bath. He grabbed his smartphone from the desk and glanced at me with a caught expression for a moment, but when he saw me acting as if I hadn't noticed anything, he looked relieved and immediately focused on his phone. He seemed quite pleased with Natalie's message. Judging by the slight smile on his lips, which I didn't miss. I was so filled with anger I thought about stabbing him from behind, but I knew I had to restrain myself for now. Then, as I was packing his bag for a business trip he requested, saying, "I'll need my overnight stuff ready," I found a hotel loyalty card in the pocket of his suit jacket. And despite previously having no interest in beauty products, he now said, "This mask is really great. I'm taking it with me for the overnight stay, so pack it in the case," adding to the odd behavior. Pretending not to notice his affair seemed to embolden him, thinking he wouldn't get caught. Alone in the living room, I let out a big sigh, to which my daughter said, "Mom, don't sigh. Happiness will escape," as she playfully covered my mouth. What a sweet child she is. I can't help but adore Lynn. I remind myself again that I need to endure for her sake. Since then, Tom has frequently claimed he's busy with work for just about everything. When I ask him to at least take the laundry inside, he'd say, "I'm tired from work." Isn't laundry a woman's job? Or when I'd ask him to help Lynn with her homework, he'd reply, "I've already used up all my brain at work, I don't want to do that when I get home," and so on. And the most common is this. But the most common excuse was this: "I'll be late today because of work. Oh, and next week, I have a business trip." All chores in parenting are neglected because of work, which means he's not around the house. But in summary, it's "I won't do anything because I'm enjoying my affair," right? While tidying up the suit Tom had left scattered, I reached for the jacket and noticed a piece of paper in the pocket. Pulling it out, I found it was a divorce application. "What's this?" Already signed by Tom. If he hadn't intended to submit it, he wouldn't have written his name. Should I really not get a divorce even after being treated this way? Tom is already making moves to be with Natalie. Until now, I felt shock and sadness from his affair because I still had feelings for Tom. But as things got worse, I've lost all love for him. I only think about Lynn now. But that's the biggest concern of all. For now, I'll keep this divorce application safe until the time comes. So, I decided to start preparing for a divorce. The first thing I need to do is work. From now on, I have to raise Lynn on my own. Being a part-timer at the supermarket, money is honestly my biggest issue. How can I become a full-time employee? Where should I work? Then, I thought of one person who could be a strong ally for me. It was my former boss. She is a woman who is a single mother named Julie. She raised 2 kids while working, and I knew about her struggles. I thought she might understand the situation to some extent. Even after resigning, we've met up a couple of times a year, showing how much she cared about me. But having left work because I had a child, would she really offer me a job now? Honestly, it was hard to ask, but desperate, I decided to call her. "Hey, Julie. It's been a while." "Oh, Anna. Long time no see." Julie answered the phone right away. "Actually, a lot has happened, and it looks like I'm going to be getting a divorce." "What? Why all of a sudden? You two seemed so happy. Could it be?" Julie seemed to sense something. "Yes, exactly that. Tom's been having an affair. He wants a divorce, and so do I, but I have a daughter, and I want to work as a full-time employee. So, could you hire me again?" Julie listened to my story with empathy, humming in understanding. Then, after a pause, as if she was thinking deeply, she said, "Let me talk to HR. Honestly, the company has been short-staffed and struggling. Having someone like you who can hit the ground running would be a blessing." "Really? Thank you so much." I sighed in relief. "More importantly, you're gathering evidence of the affair, right?" "Evidence of the affair? I have hotel loyalty cards and screenshots of WhatsApp conversations, but that's about it. That's not enough. To really make Tom suffer, you need more solid evidence. As someone who's been through it, I can help you collect it. Experienced." Listening to Julie, it turned out the reason she became a single mother was also because of her husband's affair. She had hired a lawyer and gathered ample evidence for alimony and child support claims, which made her divorce process smooth, ensuring she received adequate child support and alimony. You need evidence to have the upper hand in the divorce. Just WhatsApp conversations aren't enough. You need multiple instances of photos showing him entering and leaving hotels or the mistress's house. Do I really need that much? I had no idea. I was stunned. I didn't realize collecting evidence would be so challenging. But it's okay. I'll introduce you to the detective agency that helped me out. I'll come with you, so let's set a date. Jolie arranged for us to visit the detective agency the following week and, true to her word, came along with me. She was as reliable as ever, just like when we worked together. Half a year has passed since then. Yet, Tom hasn't brought up divorce with me. For me, it was actually convenient. I'm truly grateful he gave me this time to prepare for a divorce. As a thank you, I'll bring him down to rock bottom. That's the least kindness I can offer. After all, this is all because you had an affair. Don't hate me, okay? Thanks to Jolie's support over these 6 months, I was rehired as a full-time employee. The company valued my experience in web design quite highly in terms of salary. And about the crucial evidence, I've gathered plenty. As soon as I hired the detective agency, the evidence quickly piled up. Tom, getting cocky thinking I wouldn't find out, was easily caught on the days he claimed to be working late or going on a business trip. Such a foolish man. Today, just like any other day, Tom comes home, throws his clothes around, and cheerily calls out, "Hey, I'm home. Dinner ready?" I used to get irritated by such remarks, but not anymore. With a smile, I say, "Tonight, we have your favorite meatloaf," serving his favorite dish. Thinking about soon parting ways with such a big kid, I strangely felt nothing. Just when I was thinking about executing my plan, Tom announced, "I'll be going on an overseas business trip tomorrow. I won't be back for 4 days." Oh, finally playing the overseas business trip card, huh? Tom was taking bold steps. While feigning suspicion, I said, "Your company has overseas trips? I've never heard anyone mention that before, not even your colleagues." I just wanted to see his troubled face. It just started this year. Looks like I'll be the first one to experience it. Tom said with a wry smile. Really? Going alone? Or is someone else coming with you? Well, a colleague from work is coming too. Why are you asking all of a sudden? You never ask these kinds of questions. Tom was clearly flustered. It was obvious he was hiding something. I was just curious. Since it's an overseas trip, have fun, okay? I smirked and left the room. I've decided. I'll carry out my plan while my husband is on his overseas business trip. On the day of Tom's trip, he seemed unusually excited. Usually, he has me prepare everything he needs to bring, but this time he said, "I'll prepare it myself." This probably meant he was planning to skip work and go on a real trip with Natalie. This is the perfect chance. Today, I'll make sure to divorce this man. About 2 hours after Tom left the house, the doorbell rang. The movers were at the door. I had arranged for them when Tom mentioned he was going on an overseas trip, targeting the day he would be out. Please take all these items to this address. I planned to move all mine and Lynn's belongings to my parents' house. I had already informed my parents of the entire situation. When I told them I was getting a divorce and had been cheated on, they were quite shocked, but knowing I had changed jobs and hired a detective agency to gather evidence, they seemed to understand my determination. My dad said, "If that's the case, come live with us. Leave Lynn to us." Fortunately, my parents' house wasn't too far from mine, so Lynn wouldn't have to change schools. I decided to take them up on their offer and move in with them. Of course, I had already told my parents about the move today. While I was organizing things with the movers, Lynn was being looked after by my parents. Our belongings were relatively few, so the move was completed in just 1 day. The next day, I started organizing and settling in at my parents' house. Lynn seemed happy to be living with her grandparents, saying, "This is going to be fun," which reassured me. And it's amazing how girls are. Without me saying anything, she started tidying up on her own and helping clean the room. Every day, I'm surprised at how much she's grown. I had already told Lynn about being apart from Dad. When Dad isn't around anymore, will you be okay? Won't you feel lonely? I asked. Not at all, I won't miss him. Because Dad doesn't love Lynn. I hate a dad who never stays with me no matter how much I ask him to, she said. What kind of father makes his daughter say such things? I felt boiling anger inside me. Lynn's words only strengthened my resolve to divorce. Before I knew it, the day of Tom's return had arrived. "When will you be back?" I texted Tom, waiting for his reply. However, hours passed without any response. I thought it was strange and was waiting patiently when I noticed my phone chimed. "Tom?" I thought, pulling out my phone, only to see a shocking message displayed on the screen. I involuntarily shouted, "What?" The message from Tom read, "It was really fun. This trip to Hawaii felt like our honeymoon. Let's get married once things settle down." Does once things settle down mean after he's divorced me? How foolish can this man get? Sending a message intended for his girlfriend to me, the last person he should send it to. I couldn't help but laugh at the stupidity. Soon after, the message was retracted. Tom must have panicked and deleted it after realizing his mistake. I wish I could see his face at that moment. Of course, I have a screenshot, so Tom deleting the message was meaningless. I immediately called Tom. "Hey Tom? I received a message about getting married. What's this supposed to mean?" Tom was noticeably flustered. "No." You saw it?" "Yes, I saw it perfectly. But it's strange. I think you meant to say let's get divorced, didn't you?" "Eh? How was your affair trip? Was it fun spending time with your mistress while lying to your wife and daughter?" Well, that's..." My husband stammered in response to my question, clearly panicked. At this point, the answer seemed pretty clear. The person on the other side of the phone he always had with him was indeed Natalie, his mistress. His late returns and the "let's get married" message sent by mistake were all because of Natalie's presence. "So, you do want a divorce, right?" "Wait, let's talk properly." "There's nothing to talk about. After all, we're already divorced." "What?" Actually, on the day my husband left for his so-called business trip, which was really an affair trip, I had already submitted the divorce papers to the city hall. Thanks to the signature he had conveniently provided, the divorce was processed immediately. "You're lying! You can't just divorce me like that?" "Oh, you prepared it, didn't you? It was in your suit pocket. The filled-out divorce papers." When I said that, even over the phone, I could tell Tom started panicking. Did you actually submit that divorce application?" "Yes, just as you wished." I didn't really want to submit it. Let's talk when I get back, okay?" "There's nothing to talk about," I said and hung up without waiting for a reply. After that, I ignored all his attempts to contact me, saying things like "please reconsider" or "I only showed that divorce application to her, I wasn't serious" or "it was just a moment of madness." A few hours later, he called again. Probably having arrived home. Despite my ignoring him, the persistent calls forced me to answer eventually. "What? You still want something?" "Hey! What's going on here? Why are yours and Lynn's stuff gone? And this photo?" "We're divorced, right? We can't live together anymore. And did you like that photo? It's a good shot, isn't it?" I chuckled. Actually, I had framed a photo of my husband and Natalie walking arm in arm and placed it in the living room. "What? Lynn? Lynn would hate being away from me. She always says 'Daddy, Daddy' because she loves me. Are you ignoring Lynn's feelings?" I snorted in derision. "Lynn said she hates Daddy, you know? You're the one who's been ignoring Lynn's feelings, haven't you?" "Lies. Besides, you're just part-time, right? How are you going to raise her on your own?" "Oh dear, I'm already working as a full-time employee and my salary is quite decent. So no worries." "When did that happen? I didn't hear anything about it." "There's no need to tell you anything when you're never home, right? I have all the evidence gathered. You'll be paying alimony and child support. Say hi to Natalie for me." With that, I hung up the phone again. Afterward, he kept calling, but I found it annoying and blocked him on WhatsApp and rejected his calls. Later, thanks to the lawyer Julie introduced me to, Tom had to pay $30,000 in alimony and Natalie $16,000. Also, through the lawyer, we arranged for Tom to pay $1,000 a month in child support until Lynn turns 20. If Tom fails to pay child support, the lawyer will enforce payment or seize assets. Natalie, having been sued for damages, was found out by her parents for having an affair with a married man and was told to break up with Tom, which she did. She didn't have the resolve to continue her relationship with Tom despite opposition. I thought to myself, serves them right. As for me, work has been going very well. The side business I started as a distraction has become so busy I can barely keep up. Returning to the workplace, I was surprised at how much had changed, but I've been doing my best to keep up. For Lynn's sake, for Julie who helped me, and for my parents who are supporting me, I'm determined to make my job a success and repay their kindness.